Hello guys, how are you doing today? I am feeling a little bit excited, but at the same time, I am like, when is this torture going to come to an end? It's the Knockout Deck High Court. Speaking of which, let's go to the Knockout Deck High Court in the sense of Maywa murder trial. So of course, Mangena continued with his testimony under cross-examination with Mr. Mnisi. Mr. Mnisi was very strong and he's always been strong ever since he kind of like the last two witnesses that we had on the stand, Pinky as well as Colonel Stain, and now he is continuing with this consistency with Colonel Mangena. Colonel Mangena, yeah, he is definitely playing mind games, and because he thinks that what do you call this, lawyers don't necessarily know the work of ballistics, so he's just going to come in and say whatever he needs to say. Now, the part that I was thinking about as well, okay, you go to SAPS store, what SAPS 13 store, is that how it's called, right? And then you get there, you collect a gun that is due for destruction. You know very well that this gun, its job is concluded because it now has a conviction. Now, because there was a shooting that happened in Fosloras on the 26th of October 2014, and it involves possibly somebody who may be friends with somebody in high places, and whoever in the high places said, listen, swap those things quickly. What I found quite interesting in the testimony is that, okay, the bullet hit the door, right? So it hit, what do you call this? It shot Senzo. It went through, hit the door, hit the door, ricocheted all the way to the upper cupboard behind a glass jar. Now, my question is, because this question is kind of like twofold, make it make sense to me, because that is why I think African woman was asking about the speed or the velocity of the bullet. So now it hits the door, and the door is made of wood, from what I understand. Wouldn't it, wouldn't you find some pieces of wood as well nearby or underneath the door? And the way he answered it, it was to dismiss why there were no door shrapnels on the floor that he could have taken photos of to demonstrate that indeed when the bullet hit Senzo, it exited, hit the door, ricocheted all the way to the or hit the floor at a 90-degree angle, as he said. Okay, wait, let's put it this way. So there was a scuffle between Senzo and the shooter. The shooter then shoots at Senzo at a 90-degree, hits the floor, right? That is why it created a hole on the floor, on the tiles, and then it hit the door. When it hit the door, obviously, there's supposed to have been what? Shrapnels from the door. But I'm even thinking, if it hit a wood door, wouldn't it got stuck in there rather than ricocheting and hitting up all the way to the what do you call it, to the cupboard on top? And then when it ricocheted and hit, should it have hit the wall as well? And then there should have been like some kind of a hole or a dent of some sort. And then before it settled down on the cupboard floor, it should have hit the glass jars as well, and at least the glass should have cracked, if not broken at all, because it was still at a certain speed before it relaxed behind the glass jar. That is what I was thinking about. Like, no, 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 no. It makes no sense that you do find a 90-degree bullet hole on the tiles, and you do find that the bullet hit the door, but there are no shrapnels of the door. Because the clever question that was asked by Mr. Mnisi was, when you shoot at the door, no, it wasn't African Mnisi, I think it was African woman. Please do correct me in the comment section. If you shoot at the door, and he says, if the door is closed and you shoot at the door, the bullet is going to land on the outside. Okay, clean. That because you are aiming and you are hitting at a 90-degree angle to the door, and then of course the bullet is going to land on the outside. But I think the question was more like, okay, fine. There might be a clean shot through the door where you not find shrapnels. The only thing that you are going to find there is the hole, right? Because of the speed of the bullet. I'm just trying to make sense, guys. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't know guns. I don't know bullets and all that stuff. But I did do science, and I know terminal velocity and all that stuff. We did it. I did it, even though I did not use it after, But anyways, I have some clue. So if you hit the door, the speed of the bullet, and then from there, yeah, okay, cool, you have a clean shot. But if it's gonna hit the floor first, bounces and hit another, what do you call this object, that is when we need to start seeing some few little evidences, because the bullet itself, the terminal velocity of the bullet itself will start slowing down if it hits something, because if it hits something, it will begin to slow down. But this one, it was so powerful that it hits the floor, it hits the door, and then it goes and go on the other side of the glass jar. It doesn't hit the what do you call this, the wall, and then hit the glass before it settles behind the glass jar. And I think Mangena knew very well that that is where the question was going. It's just that whoever was asking it did not follow it up this way. Like that, I mean, I think they should have stuck to the speed of the bullet and then what it does along the way before it settled behind a glass jar. That's what I thought it should be asked, right? The other thing that caught my attention as well was the SAP store, the SAP S13 store. I don't know why my brain is going the other way. Shouldn't have been an inventory whether the gun was on its way for destruction, whether the gun was in the evidence room, but we know what Mchali. Oh yeah. Before I get to that, in fact, let me finish this thought and then go to Mchali. And then you take the gun with no paperwork, even though this is still some kind of responsibility that the police need to have on their record, especially a ballistic office, because the ballistic office will have to be held accountable if anything happened to the gun. We must remember all the rules, I believe, were broken. Number one, you have a whole expert, a ballistic expert going to Cleveland to collect the gun instead of it brought to him. I felt that number one, it's just unprofessional. And secondly, even if it was in a sealed bag or not, he was not supposed to have been the guy who just came and said, "Hi, Mr. Mchali, I'm here to collect a gun that you are about to destroy." And Mr. Mchali said he wouldn't have known if this gun was still hot. That's how I remember his testimony. If he would have known that that 9mm was out or it was still hot, he would not have put it for destruction. And secondly, Mchali did say exactly what Mr. Mnisi was saying. I don't know where Mr. Baloy got it from. I don't know if he really did listen to the recording at all or not, because Mchali said it nice and clear that he does not accept any evidence that is not sealed. He doesn't accept it. And he also will not give away any evidence that is not sealed. It is sealed. And you need to do paperwork. You need to book it out and book it back in and all of that. And he said, I would have known if this 9mm was due for court, because that means the gun is still hot. I'm paraphrasing him at this point. He would not have took it for destruction. So now who is playing the games here? And I am saying, call Mr. Mchali, Captain Mchali, back on the stand. Let him clarify what is Mangena busy denying. Because Mchali was clear. And we were all impressed with Mr. Mchali's testimony. And now it's being rubbished because this guy realizes that I need to save my career for what transpired back in 2014, because he does very much wants to say he doesn't remember. But you cannot say you don't remember when it is your crime scene. The other part that I did not understand from a ballistic expert is that how would you know? Because those lines, they put these days. I think I've seen in the sense of Mayo reconstructed crime scene. They had like these strings. There were these strings that were tied here to there and there. And part of that, in my head, I thought they meant they were measuring where everything transpired and who shot the shot and how the shot would have traveled by taking the string and putting it there, and how the bullet hit the floor, and then there'll be a string from the bullet, from the what do you call this, the model who is the shooter, and then a model who is Senzo Meiwa shooting, and the bullet hitting the ground, and then the bullet hitting the door, and it ricochets all the way to the top of the cupboard behind a glass jar. I was very, very, very shocked to hear that he doesn't know where the position of the shooter was. And secondly, that actually disturbed me as well. He didn't know whether the shooter was right-handed or left-handed. Kante, what are they teaching these ballistic experts in South Africa? Because those are the things that I know you're not supposed to make assumptions, but at least make possibilities. That, from what I understand, is that, listen, he could have been a lefty or he could have been a right hand. And the reason why I'm saying this is because of the position of the bullet when it hit the door. And another thing that Mr. Nxumalo was very smart about was asking about the ejection of the cartridges when the 9mm shoots. Because if it ejects, these cartridges, guess what you need to find in a crime scene? Cartridges. But no, he says if there was a close contact between the shooter and the deceased, and they were that close, and then the shooter shoots, the shell would remain inside of the shaft of the gun. And the question I was asking, okay, now you have this gun. When you were examining the gun, not only were you examining the bullet, you ought to also make sure that your suspicion is true by opening the barrel of the gun. Is it the barrel, the shaft, and see if there's any disturbances that transpired in there. Where when the shooter shot Senzo, the cartridge did not go up, but it did get stuck inside. And then you look for grooves, you look for striations, whatever it is that they call those things, and then make a determination that indeed this gun, if you look here and you look there, these are the injuries of the gun, because when they shot Senzo, the ejection got disturbed and the shell remained inside, causing these few little damages or some dents or something. That is what I was hoping I was going to hear after he explained, because that's the possibility he's going with. He's not going with the possibility, which is highly likely, that when a 9mm shoots, it ejects cartridges. Now, he did not find any cartridges. And I don't believe that the cartridge remained inside of the gun. I don't believe that. This gun was pulled from some other crime, and then it was brought to this one, or commissioned to this one, so that these 5 men that stand accused of killing Senzo Meiwa go to jail. And yet, we saw with Pinky's testimony, the cell phone towers did not put them anywhere near the crime scene. Nowhere near. And then he says that he doesn't have any comment about that. Of course, he's not going to have a comment about that, but he says eventually, but the gun that I tested is the one that shot and killed Senzo Meiwa. Then how do you explain the plotting of the cell phone towers? How do you then link the two? Because they don't. By the time Senzo Meiwa was killed, according to the time of the eyewitnesses, they were long back in Johannesburg, in the CBD. Long back. So now he is being a little bit little rattled by that, and that is why he doesn't have a comment. And it was also quite interesting that Mr. Nxumalo, when he started his cross-examination, was to ask him some few questions. At first I was like, where are you going with this, Mr. Nxumalo? But I like it. I like where Mr. Nxumalo was going about this, because he wanted to know some few little factors about Mr. Mangena. The one that really caught my attention was about him going to the DRC last year to investigate a certain injury of some sort. And then he came to the conclusion that the person that he was going to investigate or about, he self-inflicted that injury. I don't know if it was a self-deleting situation or whatever the situation was. And then somewhere, somehow, maybe I think his report was doubted. So the DRC said, let's get somebody else. Maybe somebody more like independent. And then they went and got the guy, the same guy that the defense has as their ballistic expert. And then he says that indeed he came to the same conclusion that Mangena came with, that the subject self-inflicted those injuries. But now this is where it was interesting for me, because I think there was some discreditation. Either the defense's ballistic expert is trying to discredit Mangena, or Mangena, because he has the upper hand right now, trying to discredit the ballistic expert for the defense by saying he supported my report. And yet the guy from the defense, the ballistic expert, said, no, I didn't even see his report. All that was done by me, and I came to that conclusion by myself. So in other words, what I think Mangena is trying to say is, this guy, we worked together back in 1995. He found me already working for the lab. I don't know why this guy decided to go private or independent, but it sounds like there's some little beef going on between the two of them. And now I think low-key, Mangena is trying to tell the court that do not listen to this guy. He's a plagiarizer. He plagiarized my findings in the DRC, and therefore he cannot come on this stand and say that my findings were wrong, when he, of course, I believe he says that this gun couldn't have shot this bullet head. So there's a discrediting going on from Mangena's side. And of course, the ballistic expert is going to take the stand, and I'm sure he's going to defend himself. Maybe they might even pull a witness of their own to say that, did you give Mangena this file and read his findings regarding this matter? But I think, of course, it was important for us to also understand who the guy that the defense is going to be calling, now that we also know Mangena. But did it shift anything in me? I don't think it shifted anything in me, because I still haven't heard the defense's ballistic expert. But from what I am understanding, he's very good at ballistic experting, and it's always accurate from what I've heard. And these are the stuff that he doesn't do only here in South Africa. This guy is international. Him and some guy called, is it Van der Merwe or something like that? They are like world-renowned ballistic experts coming from South Africa. One of the best of the best coming out of Africa. So I don't know, maybe Mangena is having some little bit of envy. Let me not put it that way. Maybe Mangena is having a little of a green eye monster situation going on. That is just my thinking about whatever it is that's going on between Mangena and, I think his name is David or something. I think that's what I heard. His name is David. I could be wrong. But to be honest with you, today's proceedings were very interesting, even though still quite technical, because if something is very technical, it's kind of like difficult as well to make commentary on, because at some point you also get lost. And I see Mangena always tries as his level best to be as technical as possible, and then Mr. Mnisi will try to water down whatever it is that he just said. And I like that, because us lay people, we may not understand what he is saying. Other than that, I'm trying to think what's the fourth thing that I picked up from everything. Oh yeah, in the morning there was some chaos of some sort. Mr. Baloy coming and telling the court about some section of the recordings did not say what Mr. Mnisi had said in court. I think it was about Mchali. And then I agree with Mr. Mnisi that, I mean, sir, I'm still cross-examining the witness. And then there was a back and forth between the two of them. I even thought at some point that, you see that gown that they wear in court, it was going to turn into wings for somebody. They'll fly to the other one and say, I am on the floor, you know, type of situation. That's how it felt like. The tension inside court was so thick you could cut it with a knife. But eventually, Mr. Mnisi stood his ground and said, "Well, let's leave it to the judge because the rules are they are enforced by, I won't say enshrined, they are enforced by the judge. If he says that for me to continue, then I will continue. If then you want what we need to do, then we can go to the record and play the record." And of course, the judge said, "Please proceed." And he proceeded. So that for me, I felt like Mr. Baloy knew very well where Mr. Mnisi was going with that cross-examination, as particularly that of Mchali, who says he will not accept anything that is not sealed, and definitely will not hand over anything that is unsealed. That's what Mchali said. So we can call him Charlie back on the stand, and I think it should be called because that is damage. That is what you call reputational damage. What Mr. Mangena said about the manager of evidence in the SAP S13 store. Is the SAP 13? There's no S. SAP 13 store. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that is what I picked up today, and that is my thoughts. But okay, my final thoughts possibly is, yeah, Mr. Manganya is really, really scared for his career. And I think Mr. Ngumalo is just coming to put that nail before Msholo comes and finishes off. And I don't know how he's going to get out of this one because he is not believable. Unfortunately for me, I tried my best to give him the benefit of the doubt, but things are not adding up. Like the shrapnels of the door. You need to get the shrapnels of the door. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I remember. Like measurements between the door and the cupboard. You did not do that. Why? Because you did not have anything to work with in my... I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. That's just my thoughts. This is a fabricated case. We've been saying this is a fabricated case, and even a whole ballistic expert is failing to convince. Of course, he will convince Rata. I think Rata already may have made up his mind. And the rest of us, unfortunately, I'm not convinced by anything that Mr. Mangena has already told the court. I don't believe him at all. At all. And it's quite interesting as well that Mr. Ngumalo is coming at him in a very nice way. I think this is also to lay foundation or grounds for Ms. Mshololo to basically build the roof and finish him off. Yeah, that's my take, guys, on what happened in the North Gauteng High Court. But yeah, God is still in control. Definitely, God is still in control. And let's keep hoping that way and see maybe a miracle might happen and justice might be served for the Maywas. And I've said this many a times before on this channel. This case is going to, if this is a fair judge, there is no sufficient evidence that these 5 men ever killed Senzo Mewa. And therefore, he would dismiss this case. And I doubt as well that the people that were with Senzo Mewa will ever see the light of day in court. I hope I'm wrong with this one. Because I don't think, in my heart of heart, I don't think that the Mewas will ever get the answers that they are looking for. There will never be justice for Senzo. A lot has been done to damage any evidence to lead to anybody that is responsible in the killing of Senzo Mewa. And I've said before that perhaps it's time that they accept it and start healing and knowing that, you know what, maybe one day somebody's going to develop a conscience. And hopefully whoever did what they did, they will also still be alive so that they are held liable for this senseless killing of Senzo Mewa. That is my position. This is the same position I held in 2015 when I realized that when I read that the crime scene was cleaned, I was like, oh, nah, let's forget about this. There's no justice here. So I still hold the same position. It's a sad one and it's upsetting one, but that's just the truth. That's how I feel. My intuitions are telling me that all this exercise, at the end of the day, the state did all it could to get justice for Senzo Mewa. So anyways, guys, please do not leave this video without liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And when you do subscribe, make sure to click the bell notification so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much, guys, for the super thanks. I highly appreciate you. I appreciate you when you appreciate me. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you also for watching the ads, even though we did drop. I appreciate you nonetheless, those of you that are watching the ads. It's quite encouraging. And yeah, let's see each other in my next video. I don't know what are your thoughts about today's proceedings. Maybe you have a different view. I don't know. See you next time. Goodbye.